Mrs. Gaines and Mr. Gibson, Clarence Jr., to fellow basketball players, to this dearest guest, to Winston-Salem State University, and to all of you, my Heavenly Father's children. This game, my condolences go out to you and the family. For you, we are praying. Chief was not only a coach, but he was a champion. I have been blessed and privileged to have some wonderful men in my life as mentors and role models. Men like Sonny Hill, who I flew in here with, and Vince Miller, Leon Whitney, Earl, Ted, who sits on the platform. But then there was Chief. Chief was the epitome and the epochs of greatness. George Bonner, in his book titled The Frog in the Kettle, says if you put a frog in a kettle of boiling hot water, he will jump right out. But if you put a frog in a pot of room temperature water and then gradually turn up the pot, he'll sit in the pot and boil to death. We as a people, and even us who share as believers, and Chief was a believer, we cannot allow the world, and Chief taught me this, you can't allow the world to gradually turn up the temperature of adversity in your life. That God has created you to be more. He's created you not to be a thermometer, but to be a thermostat. He taught me that thermometers only check the temperature, but thermostats regulate the climate. He taught us how to regulate the climate. When the Chief entered the room, he took the room. You knew he was there. He controlled the climate. He was a catalyst of change. He had an awesome capacity. So many lives have been touched and affected by him. His presence, he walked with a purpose. He spoke with great power. I could talk about how he was an innovator, an inspirer, and an icon, but Lisa told me my time wouldn't permit me to do that. I can remember coming to practice on Sunday nights late, sometimes for church activities and choir concerts and performances. And Chief would allow me to do what I had to do because I was a church fellow. And so as soon as I would come in, he would say to the team, the Reverend just came in from his engagement. And he said, now boy, can we please play some basketball? Chief had a way with words. He had a way with words. One year after homecoming, he came to hear me preach at the Union Baptist Church, and I had invited some of my friends, David Allen, who was a masterful musician, and Diane Johnson, who was a tremendous vocalist, and one of my frat brothers, Tavis, who plays the saxophone. And they collaborated and did a number before I preached. And at the end of the service, as only Chief could say it, he says, boy, that's a pretty good road show you got there. I said, I like that. I could talk about how Chief was a great father figure in that he was a faithful friend and a fine frat. I pledged Omega Psi Phi because Chief was a Q. I recall so vividly that on the night that I crossed the burning sands of Omega, after crossing the sands, the first face that I saw was Chief. He came to me after the ceremony and gave me the handshake and put his arm around my neck and said, boy, do you think now we could go and play basketball and deal with the business at hand? And we left from where the ceremony was, and he had his arm around my neck, and we walked down from the hall to the gym to practice, and he continued giving me lessons in life. That's what I remember about the Chief, lessons in life. Because of him, my wings have expanded. I have been able to travel the world and proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ. And he has always been a great supporter and a great friend and a great inspirator in my life. The story is told. I remember growing up that, and some of you would remember this, how you would long for the day that you could just stay up all night because you didn't have school the next day. And I wanted to just stay up and just look at television all night. My parents allowed me to stay up, and I tried to stay up the whole night and look at television, but somewhere along the line, the Sandman got me. And there was nothing but fuzz on the television when, in the morning when I would realize it, I was up in my bed, but I remember laying on the floor looking at television. And then I asked my father in the morning what happened, how did I get up here? And he said, you know, you were trying to stay up all night, but you fell asleep. So I picked you up. I took you upstairs to your bed, tucked you in for a good night's rest. That's what the father did for Chief on Monday. Saw there was fuzz on the screen, trying to stay up through the night, but he fell asleep. So the father picked him up, took him upstairs to the bed, tucked him in. Chief, I love you. I'm not saying goodbye, just saying see you later. Talk to you in the morning.